Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Online Business Launchpad podcast. I'm really excited to have you here today. And when I first started my business, I had a problem, and it was a really big problem, actually, and one that was going to destroy my chances of success if I didn't get on top of it. And the problem was that I cringed at the thought of having to ask someone to buy my services, to actually pay me money for something that I did for them, especially since I love what I do and I'd be willing to do it for free anyway. But you can't run a business like that. So I knew if I had to survive, if I wanted to be able to survive as a business, that I had to solve this hating sales problem, but I didn't want to come across as slimy or salesy or like I was trying to be greedy. That kind of thing just doesn't sit with who I am. And this is a problem that I struggled with for quite some time. And I kept having these missed opportunities for being able to work with people because I just wasn't confident enough to ask for the sale because I didn't want to come across as greedy. And then one day I was on a walk and I was listening to a podcast, and I'm pretty sure it was Natalie Ekdahl's Biz Chicks podcast. You have to check that out, it's a good one. And there was this lady talking about selling. And the way she talked about the whole selling process was just like a breath of fresh air. There's no yucky tactics, no pushiness, just a way of thinking about sales that made sense to me and I could feel really, really comfortable with. Well, that lady is Nikki Rausch, founder of Sales Maven and the Sales Maven Society. And I've got Nikki here with me today. And welcome, Nikki. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Oh, it's really, really great to have you here. Like I said, I was listening to your podcast and it was just, wow. It just, all of a sudden there was this great sense of relief that I didn't have to pursue this false way of thinking about sales. I could actually do something that sat naturally with me and worked with what, with the way I think and with my personality. So can you just maybe just tell people a little bit about who you serve and why?
So, I primarily work with women business owners. And the reason for that is because I found I have an extensive background in sales. I come from a very male dominated industry. I sold technology for many, many years of my career. And I realized in that very male dominated industry that I was never going to be able to sell like these guys. It just did not fit my personality. And so I learned how to find a way to authentically sell. I started kind of reading a lot of books and I started studying neurolinguistic programming and I really found my way and had a lot of success in my corporate career. And so when I started meeting entrepreneurs, I found that women in particular really struggled with that sales conversation. They weren't sure how to recognize buying signals. They weren't sure how to have the money conversation. They felt cringy when it came to asking for the sale, all of those things. And so that was something at that point that had felt natural to me. And so I started helping people on the side. And really, my business was born out of just really wanting to make an impact with these women and teach them a way to sell that felt more authentic to who they were as a person and allowed for them to be strategic in the conversation so they weren't giving away their services for free and they weren't walking away feeling like, oh my gosh, that felt horrible or that felt uncomfortable or did I ruin the relationship, right? So that's really, my business was born out of that, and that's who I serve. And I really love working with women and teaching the non-sales person who knows they have to do it to grow their business to do it in a way that feels good and works.
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to just pick up a little bit on something that you said because I'm curious about it because I keep running into it. Two things, actually.
Okay.
How much do you think that personality plays a role in people's comfort and confidence with doing sales?
I actually don't think personality plays as big of a role as people give it credit for, frankly. I happen to fall on the introverted, side as far as personality goes. I am quite shy in social settings. What I do have is I have a desire to be of service, and I have what I consider a servant's heart in that I really do want to serve a larger community. And so the thing that I think will set people apart is, are you willing to be a little uncomfortable to do what it takes to make it easy for the other person in the conversation to get what they want. And if you're willing to be a little uncomfortable to put the other person at ease, then I think everybody can learn how to sell successfully.
That's actually a really really lovely way of looking at it, because the other part of the second question that I wanted to just, or thread that I wanted to just follow up on, is that you work with women, and you mentioned that oftentimes, and I know this is true because I've done it myself, will walk away from a potential sales opportunity going, have I ruined the relationship? And so how much do you think that whole, or maybe just talk a little bit about the whole role that relationship plays in the selling, because what you just said about making it about the other person,
Mm-hmm.
somehow I think that ties together.
Yeah, I do too. So my motto is relationship first, rapport always. And that in order to really earn somebody's business and also build ambassadors out in the marketplace for the work that you do, the relationship has to be a priority. So it comes before the sale. And then as long as you keep rapport intact, that you do things to put the other person at ease, that you make the process simple, that you make it easy for them to walk through the process, you make it easy for them to respectfully decline, and you also make it easy for them to say yes and anything in between, then it's the conversation gets, it gets more conversational, frankly, and it gets easier to do. And then you don't walk away going like, did I hurt the relationship by asking that person for their business? No, if anything, you hurt the relationship when you don't invite them to work with you, when you do this in a structured, strategic way, have that conversation that isn't like scripted and feels like, oh, she's just reading from a script. It is a real conversation between you and the other person, and you're making a legitimate connection with them.
I think that's really important, because I've been on a quest for like I said in the introduction, is a real journey to go from about sales to going all the way through to feeling like, wow, if I don't offer them the opportunity to work with me, then I'm actually hurting them.
Yeah.
And just getting to that point can take quite a lot of work. And so one of the things I did is I went and worked with a coach for a little while, and they used a script approach to it, and it's just like, that didn't really work either, because their script was for them and the way they do things and their mindset and
Yeah.
whatever mindset issues they deal with. They're not my mindset issues.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so how much do you use scripts at all to help with the whole sales
Well,
process?
I'm going to say that my clients call them scripts. I actually oftentimes I refer to, I call them possible language suggestions, and I give them ways to phrase things. But ultimately, especially when I'm working one on one with my clients, I always say, now, if I say something and you go, I would never talk like that, or that would never come out of my mouth, please speak up, because I can give you quite a few other ways to say it, and we'll work on it until it can come out of your mouth and feel very authentically you. So you'll often hear me say, I don't teach people how to sell like me. I teach them how to be strategic in the conversation and allow for their own personality to come through. So, yes, I do give some sample scripts, and I give people ideas of, here's what you could say here, here's how to frame a question, and here's why this question works this way versus saying it the way everybody else is saying it. Now, can you get it out of your mouth? And if you can't get it out of your mouth, we just got to work on it together, and we'll get there. So clients often start with me going like, I just don't think I can ask anybody for money. I actually have a client right now who we've only been working together for a month. And now she's like, she went from saying, I'm going to do everything I can to not bring up the money conversation, to now she's like, it's so much easier to just tell them the price and then ask them how they'd like to pay. And now people are paying me a lot of money. And before I was like, postponing the process because I didn't want, I was like, yeah, that's where we're always going, is make it easy for the client, make it easy for you. And now it feels like a conversation. It feels like two people who care about each other having a conversation, offering them a solution, and they get to decline or say yes. And either way is okay.
Yeah, and I think that's really really powerful. I was just thinking, I was just, when you were saying that about Just starting out, not wanting to have that money conversation, and then getting to the point where it's comfortable. That can sometimes be quite a process. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about some of the common mindset issues that people face that make them want to delay that conversation?
Yeah, well, some of it is because some of the mindset is that feeling like, oh, are they going to be thinking I'm greedy? I think you even said that at the beginning, right? Are they thinking that I'm being greedy? Are they judging my price? Do they, maybe they're thinking it's not worth it? Or one of the biggest mistakes, mindset mistakes, is we tell ourselves this person either can't afford it or would never pay for it,
Yes.
and it's such a barrier to the relationship and to the rapport. It actually breaks rapport because you inadvertently start to treat them like they can't afford it or they wouldn't pay for it. Either one of those are huge mistakes, because when you send that message to the other person, it doesn't feel good to them, and they don't necessarily know why you're acting that way. They just feel uncomfortable and awkward and weird in the conversation with you. um, there's a saying, don't sell from somebody else's wallet. And one of the big mindset issues is we go, oh, they couldn't afford it or they'll never pay for it. And so you say things that actually damage the relationship. And my husband and I just moved into a new house, and we were working with all these contractors. And so I get lots of examples of people who are constantly selling from our wallet. My husband has one particular thing he really wants in our new home. And every time he brings it up, the contractor will say, "Oh, that's really expensive." And the salesperson in me is like, it's not your business if it's expensive or not. Just tell him what the price is and let him say, "Oh, it's really expensive," or "Okay, great, let's add that on," right? But it's not your job to sell what you think somebody can afford. It's your job to sell somebody what you know they need and is going to make an impact in their life, and then let them decide. That they're adults. They're going to say yes or no or have a question.